You've probably heard that meditation is good for you, right? That it helps calm your mind? But what if the effects go way, way deeper? What if the simple act of focusing your thoughts could actually rewrite your biology, right down to the molecular level? Well, today, we're going to dive into some fascinating science that suggests it absolutely can.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction, doesn't it? But get this, a really remarkable series of studies suggests the answer is a big, resounding yes. Researchers are discovering that meditation doesn't just feel good, it leaves a tangible, measurable footprint on our very own genetic code.
So the practice at the heart of this whole discovery is called Preksha Dhyana. It was formulated back in the 1970s by the Jain ascetic Acharya Mahaprajna, and it's all about achieving a state of pure consciousness by focusing the mind on things happening inside you, like sound and even color.
And what's so incredible about this research is the collaboration behind it. It was brought to life through the spiritual guidance of Jain nuns Sadhvi, Unnat, Prabhaji, and Samani Chaitanya Prajnaji, working side by side with a scientific team led by genomics expert Dr. Bassam Abamuelak and metabolomic specialist Dr. Philip Britz McKibben. It's a true meeting of ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science.
So where did this journey even begin? Well, it wasn't by looking at genes. Nope. It started with a much simpler question. Could this ancient practice actually help stressed-out college students think and feel better?
All right, so the researchers set up this 8-week experiment with 142 students, none of whom had ever meditated before. They split them into 4 groups. Group 1 focused on a sound meditation, kind of like a bee buzzing sound. Group 2 focused on a color meditation, visualizing the color green. A third group did both, and of course the last group was the control. No meditation for them.
And the results? They were really fascinating. When they measured negative affect, feelings like stress, nervousness, irritability, all the medication groups saw a drop. But the group that combined both the sound and the color techniques, whoa, they saw by far the biggest plunge.
And it wasn't just about feelings. They saw the exact same pattern with brain power. When they tested the students on short-term memory, like remembering a string of numbers, the combined group, once again, showed the most dramatic improvement. The individual techniques worked, sure, but putting them together was like a superpower.
So this totally surprising result left the research team with a huge question. As they put it in their paper, they needed to figure out the mechanisms behind these more pronounced and global benefits. Basically, they knew what was happening, but they had no clue why.
And this led them to the million-dollar question. What in the world was happening on a biological level in that combined group that wasn't happening in the others? To find out, the scientist had to go from the mind all the way down to the molecule.
So, to unravel this mystery, the team decided to analyze the very DNA of the students from that superpowered combined meditation group, looking for changes before and after that 8-week period.
Now, they weren't looking for changes to the genes themselves. Your experiences can't do that. Instead, they were looking at something called DNA methylation. This is a key process in a field called epigenetics. You can think of it as the software that runs on your genetic hardware.
The absolute best way to understand this is the dimmer switch analogy. So your DNA is like this massive library of instruction manuals for everything your body does. DNA methylation doesn't rewrite those manuals, but it acts like a dimmer switch on them, turning the activity of certain genes up or down. It's basically controlling which instructions get read and when.
And what they found was just stunning. After only 8 weeks of this meditation practice, they identified 470 specific spots on the student's DNA where these little dimmer switches had been significantly altered. That's a real, tangible change at the genetic level. And listen, these weren't just random changes. The genes that were getting turned up or down were directly involved in really crucial pathways. We're talking things like how your cells talk to each other, brain function, and metabolism. This was the first solid link between a mental practice and a physical change in how the students' genes were being expressed. But the team didn't stop there. If the genetic dimmer switches were being flipped, that change should actually show up in the body's chemistry, right? So for the final piece of the puzzle, they looked at the student's blood. To do this, they used a technique called metabolomics. So if epigenetics is the software telling your genes what to do, you can think of metabolomics as the printout. It measures the tiny molecules, or metabolites, that are the end products of all that genetic activity, giving you a real-time snapshot of what your body is actually doing. It's kind of like analyzing the chemical fingerprints left behind by all of your body's most important processes. This is where you move from just reading the instructions to seeing the action.
And those chemical fingerprints told a crystal-clear story. The students who meditated had way higher levels of several key metabolites. One of them was choline, which is an essential nutrient that is absolutely vital for building healthy cell membranes and for producing a neurotransmitter critical for memory and muscle control. See where this is going?
Okay, so now we have 3 totally different layers of evidence: the psychological, the genetic, and the metabolic. Let's connect all the dots and see the full picture.
Here it is, the whole cascade, from mind all the way down to molecule. It starts with the practice. The students feel less stressed and their memory gets better. That psychological change connects directly with 470 of those dimmer switches getting flipped on their DNA. And those genetic changes in turn lead to a surge of beneficial molecules, like that choline we mentioned, circulating in their bloodstream, providing the actual raw materials for better brain function. It all links up perfectly.
And this is the big takeaway here. That feeling of well-being you get after meditation, it's not just a subjective thing that's all in your head. This research shows us there is a clear molecular basis for it. The practice creates a real interconnected biological cascade, from your thoughts to your genes to your cells.
So, what does all this mean for the future? Well, if we can trace the specific biological fingerprint of different meditation techniques, it opens up a whole world of possibilities.
The researchers themselves suggest this could lead to a new kind of personalized medicine. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, we could one day design specific meditation protocols, maybe one focusing on sound, another on color, or both, to target the unique biological needs of someone with, say, ADHD or anxiety. It could become a precision tool for the mind.
And that leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought. In a future where we understand this mind-body connection this deeply, what if your doctor could prescribe not just a pill, but a specific, targeted mental practice designed to flip just the right switches in your very own DNA?